Have you ever felt conflicted with trying to decide what direction to go, like which niche to choose for your business or YouTube? Or if you have a niche, have you been kind of plugging along, not really sure if it's going to really grow into something and be profitable, and you want it to be successful and you think it's going to be successful, but you don't really know, and you kind of want to know before you put all your time and energy into it? Well, if you can relate to any of those, I have some really unfortunate news. There is no way of really knowing for sure, but there are some questions that you can ask yourself and some specific things that you can research to make a really good educated guess. So let's talk about it here on Video Brand Infusion, episode number 23. My name is Meredith. I'm here to help you infuse the best video marketing strategies into your business so that you can grow your audience and generate consistent revenue. And pretty much step number one of that is figuring out what is your niche or niche. And I'm going to go back and forth in the way I say that word in this episode because I've gotten into the habit of just kind of like flip-flopping back and forth so I don't alienate anybody. And this can be kind of a hot topic because there are other people out there who say, don't niche down. You don't have to niche down. You don't have to pick a niche. Just show up and be yourself. And in some cases, I think that might work out for people. But in my experience, in order to build like a real actual business, you do have to have a niche. And a niche is not, just a list of topics that you stick to religiously. A niche is a space that you create for an audience. Before I started my business, I waited like a whole calendar year for myself to like pick a niche and figure out what I was doing. I knew that I wanted to create content. I set out to be a blogger. I didn't know anything about creating videos and I had no desire to create videos. YouTube was not part of my life at that time. And I waited a whole year for like an idea to pop into my head, for inspiration to strike. And I did one day. I made a video with a GoPro camera of my kids sledding and making Christmas cookies with my mom. And I put it together into this cute little video and my kids were amazed at this video I created. And I thought, oh my gosh, why aren't more people doing this? I need to help more people do this. I was thinking I need to help more moms create these like fun family movies. And that initiated like getting the ball rolling to decide this is my niche. This is the thing that I'm going to go with here. You might have heard the quote, you don't choose a niche chooses you. And I think sometimes that can be true. I kind of feel like that was true for me. But I once heard John Lee Dumas say, you don't pick a niche, you create a niche. And over the last 10 years that I have been a content creator, I think the truth of that statement really has become more and more clear to me over time. But what happens if you pick the wrong niche? Isn't it possible that you think you have a great idea and you start creating the content and you think you're building a business and then it just never grows into something? Because the thing is, I see people walk away from their businesses all the time. I see people walk away from their channels. I see people who have spent 3, 4, 5 years or more trying to grow an audience and trying to monetize their audience, and it just never quite clicks in a way that it's clear what they need to do next to like scale it or make it grow to the point where it's sustainable, and they walk away. And it makes me wonder, is there something they could have done early on to really validate the niche and really determine how to create their niche from the beginning so that it would be more successful over time. So there are 3 categories of people that are going to benefit from this episode. Number 1, if you don't have a niche at all, you don't really know what you're doing, or you have like 2 or 3 ideas, but you don't know which one to go with. You just know, I want to create content and I want to build an online business. That's category number 1. Number 2, you have a niche, you have a channel, you have maybe a business or some kind of a structure for a business, but you're struggling to get it to really go anywhere. Like, you're not getting views on your videos, you're not really generating revenue, you're not getting like engagement and attention on your content. And number 3, you think you have a brilliant idea for a business or a YouTube channel, but before you dive in, you want to be absolutely sure that the time and energy and possibly money that you invest into it is going to pay off. Like, it's actually going to be profitable and sustainable for you. So first of all, I don't think there's really any such thing as a perfect niche. I think it changes and evolves over time. And I think it's meant to do that, because this whole thing of creating content and even building a business, even if it wasn't a content creation business, you're still creating something. It's a creative process. And I think the nature of that is just one that things evolve, things change, things shift, and you get to adapt to all of that. And I recently was inspired to create this episode because I fall into the category of the 3rd category. I have a good idea. I think it's a good idea for an online business that has to do with, that involves creating content, but it has nothing to do with like YouTube or business. It's not a business or marketing niche at all. It's completely, it's more of like a consumer niche. And I have this idea because I think there's a need for it, but I want to know, before I invest my time and energy, I want to know, is it actually going to be profitable? Because obviously I know how to start a channel. I know how to grow a channel. I know how to generate revenue with the content. The question is not, can I do it? Like, is it possible for me to do it? The question is there enough outside audience and enough of a demand out there for this idea? And that question, I think, is one that I think a lot of people skip over that. Like, if I build it, they will come kind of a mentality. Just because you build something and create the content doesn't mean people are, going to be interested in it. So let me back up to number 1. If you're in the first category of people, like, you don't really have a niche, but you want to find one and get going, or you have a couple of different ideas and you're not sure which one to go with. The first question I would ask, and I ask this to my one-on-one clients all the time, who come to me with, like, they have all these things figured out. I'm going to create this and I'm going to create that. And then this is the business and that's the this. And they're talking about it like it's this like external thing that they're choosing, rather than an internal desire to create a business around something that they're really interested in and really like passionate about. And so the first question is, if you could be successful in any niche, what would it be? It doesn't mean that you choose that niche, because maybe you determine it's not going to be profitable. But that's where you have to start, so that you can know how to weave that niche in with something that is going to be profitable. Because I think John Lee Dumas is right. You don't pick a niche, you create one, which means you can create a niche out of whatever ingredients you want. Number 2, what do you want to be talking about 5 years from now? This is important because I think there are some topics that we maybe naturally gravitate towards them because we're knowledgeable in them and they come easy to us, but we're not necessarily that deeply interested in them. And the truth of it is, like, if you start creating content around whatever topic right now, if I started creating content about Post-it notes right now, and I did that for the next 5 years, I'm going to be, assuming that the content gets views and engagement and things like that, I'm going to have views and engagement and questions and comments and emails and messages around Post-it notes, right? So 5 years from now, is that really what I envision for the business that I'm creating? Or am I going to be kind of annoyed with the Post-it notes? Number 3, this is something that I have my students do inside of 30 Days to a Thriving YouTube channel. And that is to come up with a list of 100 topics. Whatever you think your niche is, whatever you think you want to start on YouTube or online, sit down and create a list of 100 video topic ideas. Like, you don't have to come up with the titles and the thumbnails. You're not really planning them all out. But if you struggle to get to 100, if you struggle to get past like 25, then you really have to ask yourself, how much do I know about this, for one thing? How interested am I in this? And is there even enough topics out there to make a full channel here? I think it's a great litmus test to see how interested and knowledgeable and passionate you really are about the topic that you chose or about the niche that you are choosing. Because if you can't get to 100 like relatively easily, then you might want to look at something else. You might decide, I don't really want to do this. But if you are interested and knowledgeable and passionate about it, you're probably going to get to like 10 ideas, and that's going to spawn 10 more ideas, which spawns 10 more ideas. And now you're like into these pockets of topics, and it was easy for you to create a list of 100 because it's interesting and you're passionate about it and you're already knowledgeable about it. So it should be relatively easy to create a list of 100 topics. So if you can answer those 3 questions, if you could be successful in any niche, what would it be? Start there. What do you want to be talking about 5 years from now and not get annoyed with small questions? And can you make a list of 100 topics in a relatively short period of time? I think those are 3 really good places to start. Now, in terms of like profitability and generating revenue and things like that, there's an old trick that a really good way to validate a niche or a business idea is to go to Amazon and see if there are books that exist on that topic. Because if there are books that exist on the exact topic that you're thinking of creating a channel, creating a business, creating a course or a program about, then you know someone's already validated it for you. Now, you can't necessarily know whether that book has made any sales, but you can see like reviews and star ratings and things like that and get a pretty good idea whether this product, this book, has been a valuable resource to people or not. And if there isn't a book that exists on the topic, unless it's a really brand new topic, then you might want to ask yourself, why? Am I like literally the first person on the planet to think of this idea, to think of this this topic or this niche? Or have other people thought of it and tried it and realized no one's really interested in this? And if you're thinking, my niche isn't really something that people buy books about, you would be very surprised because this niche idea that I have, I've been going through some of these steps myself to validate the idea because I want to validate the whole business idea, not just like, would this work on YouTube? And I didn't think that there would be books on this topic because it's not something you can read a book about and grasp. It's more of a doing thing. So I was surprised when I went to Amazon and looked it up, and sure enough, I found, I think, 2 or 3 books on the exact topic. And then there were several handfuls that were related, like closely related, but not the exact topic. So I was actually really, really surprised that they existed. So don't skip over this one, especially if you want to look at a niche that is going to be profitable. And just because books already exist on the topic doesn't mean there's no room for you in that niche. It just means that somebody else has gone ahead and validated it ahead of you. And that's what you want to see. That's a good sign. Now, I mentioned John Lee Dumas said you don't pick a niche, you create one. And this is where you get to look at what are other people doing with this niche or in this niche, and see the patterns of how are the other people that are already doing it related, and how can I do it differently? What is going to be different about me? And if you're lucky, there isn't something extra you have to do or change. It's just something that's naturally different about you. And it doesn't even really have to be that unique. It just has to be different. And to give you a really good example of this, when I first started my channel and my business, my topics were all around how to use a GoPro camera and how to edit GoPro videos. And I think I was the only woman that was doing that, or at the very least, I think the only mom who was really focusing on that niche, like that topic or those topics. Or if there were women and moms, they were like, GoPro's an action camera. So they were like action type people, outdoorsy people. I'm not even an outdoorsy person. That doesn't mean that I was somehow better. It was just different. It was just a way of differentiating. And so I would, at the time, make sure that my content was geared towards like a parent, capturing your kids on camera, making family videos with your GoPro, not like skydiving, right? I tried to lean into the things that made me different as I created my content. And I didn't have to do anything extra or special to, be unique. So I just leaned into it, I guess you could say. And so I would start looking at ways that you can be unique and differentiate yourself without overdoing it, without overthinking it. Like, what are the ways that you already are naturally unique and different in that niche? And number 6, this question is really difficult. It's not difficult to ask, but it's difficult to answer for a lot of people. The question is, do you have a super clear understanding of the tangible, real life, desired results or outcomes of your audience and the real life problems that your ideal audience is facing at getting that? That's kind of a long question. Let me read it again. Do you have a super clear understanding of the tangible, real life, desired results or outcomes of your ideal audience and the real life problems that your ideal audience is facing at getting that? And what I mean by that question is, do you know exactly why somebody is going to want to watch your videos or want to buy your course or program or work with you? Do you know what the clear outcome is, the why of what they're really getting at, what they're really wanting to get at? and the real problems that they are facing at trying to get that. It sounds kind of wordy to talk about it like so abstractly. This is a topic that comes up in Video Brand Academy sometimes, where, if you're creating content around a specific tool or a specific piece of software, you have to be specific. Specificity is one of my favorite concepts when it comes to content creation. You have to be really specific about who it is you're creating that content for, so that you know exactly why they need the content you're creating. And so you know exactly what problems they're running into to try and get that, because all of that becomes your content strategy. I can't just create a whole channel about Post-it notes and successfully build a business around that without identifying or really deciding who it is that I'm trying to talk to about Post-it notes, what it is that they're trying to achieve with Post-it notes, and what the problems are that they're running into as they're trying to achieve that. Because there's a really big difference between a kindergarten teacher setting up her classroom with a wall of Post-it notes, I don't know where that came from, and a software developer who is setting up a a Kanban board with Post-it notes. I'm looking at my whiteboard right now because I have a bunch of Post-it notes on it that are disorganizedly in some kind of a Kanban structure. That's two completely different people, two audiences. That's two niches, same tool, same topic, same software, same hardware, but two completely different people. And you have to have a super clear understanding of what their desired outcomes are and what the problems are that they're running into in order to create the kind of content that is really going to take off and grow and reach those people with the algorithm. Now, inside Video Brand Academy, I'm going to look for this right now as I'm talking, but I created a YouTube roadmap, and one of the very first things, like page 1 or 2, is these 4 questions. It's a page with 4 blocks on it, and those questions are like foundational to your success on YouTube. Like, you need to know the answer to these questions. And if you're in Video Brand Academy and you come to me for help, or you come to a meetup and you ask for help, these are things that I'm going to be asking you so that I have a good understanding of what we're working with here. Like, what exactly is your niche? So these 4 questions are: who are you helping? What are you helping them do? Why do they need that? And why are you the best person to help them? So I talked about some of those a little bit here in this episode, but that is what it all sort of boils down to when it comes down to figuring out what exactly is your niche, who exactly is your niche. And the shocking truth of all of this is you don't actually have to figure that all out before you start creating content. You don't have to have all of the answers. You don't have to wait for all of the answers to come to you. You can find those answers by creating content so that you are essentially validating yourself. So that's why I put those 4 questions as one of the first assignments inside Video Brand Academy, so that you can identify some things, make some decisions, and then move on and actually create more clarity as you create more content. Nothing you do is set in stone as far as figuring out your niche or validating your niche. I do think it's a good idea to ask yourself, is this going to be profitable? Is it going to pay off? And look outside of just your own desire to create content in a niche, or look outside of just your own brilliant idea and see what's happening out there with the, what is it now, like 8 billion people that are on the planet. Are any of those people interested in this thing, in this brilliant idea that I have? because that's how profitable businesses are made. And if you're looking to build a profitable business online as a content creator, creating a set it and forget it YouTube funnel is the simplest way to generate consistent revenue with the content that you're creating. So if you start off with a niche that is validated with outside information and inside what you want to create and what you feel excited and passionate about creating. If you do like to have a plan of how it all looks once it's put together, I went through all of that in episode number 1 of the Video Brand Infusion podcast, the 5 steps of a YouTube funnel, how it looks, how it operates, so that you can start thinking about how to plug your niche ideas into a YouTube funnel and have like a clear picture of what you're building, like a paint by numbers, right? So you have a clear picture of what exactly is the system that I could build here with the niche that I'm choosing or the niche that I'm creating.